So good afternoon. This is the Steve Mazzacane podcast. It is 4:02 on September 16th. It is a Wednesday. It's nice out, a little gray. I have the windows open, thankfully, that we get to the point that we can live and sleep with the windows open again. It's the best time of year as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so we have a bunch of topics for first we have our today's sponsor. It just kind of dawned on me talking to some people that, one of the sponsors for my podcast should also be my business. And so the sponsor today is Atticus News Marketing. Obviously, people know we have ads on Brantford 7. We also have sponsorships on this podcast, and also we do social media marketing. And the advantage that we have, and I won't do a whole thing here, but one of the advantages we have from a business perspective is that we spend every day reaching an audience. So if you're looking for help with social media, if you're looking for help with marketing, we can help you. One thing we can do that no one else could do is take your posts and share them to our audience as well. So it's a significant advantage. Our customers work well. In the next few weeks, we're going to start doing videos, not through the podcast, but videos that we'll post through our business page of our success stories, our clients who we've worked with. It has been incredibly successful working with people, especially through COVID, through power outages, letting people know publicly what restaurants are open, things of that nature, because they're working with us. So that's my plug for today. So today's sponsor is Atticus News Marketing, my business. So we have a few things to talk about. We're going to follow up on yesterday's discussion on Madison. The New Haven Register wrote an article today, so we'll talk about that. We will talk about Trump's unbelievable tweet about an hour ago. Jaw-dropping to me. On what we just, by the way, I have to get used to looking this way. I apologize for yesterday. The camera was so dark. On my screen, I was not watching it through Facebook. I was watching it through a third party, which sends the feed out to multiple different sites. And it looked bright. It looked fine. And then afterwards, when I saw the video, it was dark as hell. So I apologize for that. It looked like I was doing one of those, secret identity interviews. And I apologize. So let's start with, we'll talk about that Trump tweet, and we'll talk about the CIAC decision on football, primarily the reaction. Some of the comments are just spectacular. To those that don't follow financial news, the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, who was the chairman, just gave an update, some good and bad news, but one of the key things he called for was more stimulus. And I think the pressure is building on Republicans in the national level to push a stimulus package. Now, Nancy Pelosi knows she has significant power here. The stimulus package is needed. Nothing can happen without her votes. She wants a higher number. The Republicans came back with a number around $300 billion, $3 to $500 billion last week. It did not pass because Democrats blocked it in the Senate. To give you a little bit of background here, a few months back, Democrats put out one for over $3 trillion. And that was extending the $600 to January that people were getting in their unemployment. Everyone getting $1,200. It was an increase on your dependents from $600 to $1,200, or I'm sorry, from $500 to $1,200. There was money for states and towns fighting through COVID. There was some other. They also, in fairness, put a bunch of things that were unrelated to COVID in there, like marijuana legalization and some crazy things. So they played their game, putting some things in there as well that pushed the price up. Republicans came back basically with a $1 trillion bill, didn't really get off the ground, and they can't get their own side on the same side. So we're in the middle of this war. But Jay Powell, who is a fairly reasonable person, logical person, basically said, we're keeping interest rates low till 2023. We don't expect a full rebound until 2023, where inflation can hit 2% again. And ultimately, they're expecting at some point some additional stimulus, the Congress to pass something. People are kind of counting on it. So that puts pressure on government. I want to read this tweet because it's pretty amazing. It's Donald Trump. This came out this afternoon. I'm sorry, maybe late morning, maybe around 11 o'clock, 5 hours ago right now, it says. It's 19,000 comments after it, 71,000 likes, been shared 22,000 times. And knowing the last 2 to 3 months of the stimulus debate, knowing the discussion we had, and I've been saying this for years, I don't know why the Republicans didn't say, once the Democrats said $3 trillion, we're going with $4. I don't know why that didn't happen. That would have been smart to me had they done that, but they didn't. And that being said, here's the tweet from Donald Trump today at 11 o'clock. Word for word. Democrats are heartless, in quotes. I don't know why the quotes are there. I don't know who he's quoting with one word. I don't know if someone else called them heartless. Whatever the case is, his actual Trump says Democrats are then, quote, heartless, unquote. I don't get that, but okay. Maybe somebody in his family told him they were heartless and he's quoting. Democrats are heartless. They don't want to give stimulus payments in caps to people who desperately need the money and whose fault it was not, in caps, that the plague came in from China. Now forget that stuff, okay? Go for the much higher numbers, comma, Republicans. It all comes back to the USA anyway. So you had Jay Powell an hour ago call for another stimulus package. And basically this is Trump saying what I said yesterday on the podcast and quite frankly been saying for weeks, if not months, go for a larger number. You know, when you pass a stimulus to people who don't make a lot of money especially, they spend it. That $1,200 gets spent on the local economy. That $600 gets spent on the local economy. That money for towns and cities gets spent to workers, what have you. There's other money in there too. There can be debates on those things too. But for Trump to come out and say this is significant because it puts pressure on the Senate Republicans to do something. I don't know why this is so hard. For the life of me, an election year, I don't know why every one of them isn't saying, let's hand out as much money as humanly possible. I don't get it. Every check that comes has Trump's name on it. Getting a $1,200 check, if they were to pass it now, you'd get it by the election time. In my opinion, could likely only help the Republicans. Maybe Trump is figuring that out. This is kind of a big 2 days for Trump because he had a really good day yesterday with the Middle East issue. I don't care whether you're a Trump fan or not. That's a good sign. It's a positive sign in the right direction. There's a great article in the New York Times by Friedman on that today. And then pushing for a stimulus package. Now, this could be politics. It could just be knowing the Republicans won't get on board and then he blames the Democrats. I don't know why he leads this with Democrats are heartless, but who knows why he tweets anything. But to see him publicly say, push it higher, is a good sign for the American people who are still struggling. The fact of the matter is, and I just listened to Jay Powell for an hour, there are some sectors that are simply not going to return. We learned this weekend, over the last 2 weekends, the movie Tenet, which is a major movie by Christopher Nolan, came out significantly underperforming. People are not going to the movies. So people involved in that industry, not just movie theaters, but making movies, distributing movies, all those sorts of things are going to be in significant trouble. Restaurants are struggling mightily. The number of closings is growing. I can tell you from experience, many local restaurants are getting hurt. And once they can no longer seat outside, that gets 10 times worse. And remember, the last time the stimulus passed, it took some time before people started seeing money. So some people in Connecticut now are going to get that $300. You're going to get $1,800 over the next 3 or 4 weeks, which is good. Make up some of that difference. But you still have a month to 6 weeks before people start seeing stimulus dollars, even if something were to pass today, and they're not even at the table today. So this is going to get worse. Now, the good news is the Fed improved their numbers slightly on unemployment. If we finish the year at 7.6, we'll be in good shape. I'm just going to look over comments here. Ray, hello from Alaska. Ray, you can give us an update here if you'd like to. Grace from the Fires Out West. Hi, Ray. To those who don't know, Ray Ingraham is commenting. He is the Republican chairman in Branford. And I just, that the family's been through so much in the last 2 weeks. A horrific accident by Ray's daughter was in the military, met her husband in the military. He is still in the military. They're in Alaska out on a base and had a serious ATV accident. At the same time, his other daughter, and so he went out to Alaska. I brought him there at 4 o'clock in the morning to the airport. Soon after, his other daughter's boyfriend, who she lived with, had a serious stroke. So there's a lot going on. And so, Ray, we're thinking about you. And if you want to, you're welcome to give us an update. The issue there, and we'll probably talk about this tomorrow on the podcast, is that his daughter cannot get into the Alaska hospital to see her husband because of COVID. They won't let him. So there was a lot of political pressure being put on people now to try to change that. She wants to be there, rightfully so, understandably, and they won't let her go in. So all these states have different standards, and that's causing a lot of this. That's gotten national news. I saw it on a Texas. Um, Ray just said that sure, Kyle is doing better, but no word on hospital and Lisa being able to visit him in the ICU. That's really the big question right now. So we can update you on that a little bit more. So going back to the Fed, certainly it looks like if you are waiting on that stimulus package, that there's certainly pressure to pass something. We're going to see how uncooperative the Republicans in the Senate could be. And it's amazing to me, to be honest with you, because the Senate is the only one that has a chance of flipping. The House is going to be Democratic no matter what. If they don't pass anything, I don't know how this doesn't help Biden, because people would have to understand that Biden getting in and the Democrats taking the Senate, if that's certainly possible, would be a far greater chance for these people to get stimulus dollars that need it. So maybe Trump has finally woken up and figured this out, but I don't know that the Senate Republicans have. It's going to be very interesting going forward and seeing what's done there. Okay. Thoughts are with you and your family. Okay, so a lot talking about Ray right now, and that's certainly the case. Let's go to yesterday in Madison. And the Register put out an article yesterday, and there's nothing in the article that's earth-shattering that we really didn't talk about, but I do want to talk about this issue. One of the reasons that issue overall was interesting was that it was kind of a microcosm of what's happening nationally, right? We're seeing parties attack each other over nothing. We're seeing this political correctness, this cancel culture. And there are, quite frankly, a rising group of Democrats who are fighting against it. And Bill Maher has kind of led this, but a lot of other Democrats are saying enough is enough. And the hardcore Dems are kind of leading this. You're either with us or you're a loser or a jerk or an idiot. And there's no sense of everything's offensive. Anything you say is racist, and it's getting tiring. And quite frankly, I believe it's why Trump won. Eileen didn't resign from the chamber. She resigned her seat on the RTC. But she had done that already. In any event, so we covered it. It was clearly a bullying incident. The Democrats, Joan Walker, who had a personal vendetta against Eileen Banish, this comment was no way, shape, or form racist. It was kind of a ridiculous, flippant comment, and she was forced to apologize and all this other stuff. Thankfully, yesterday, Christine Cohen basically came out and said, guys, enough, and let's move on from here. And hopefully the Democratic dogs will say, okay, we get it. That it took that is unfortunate. But I want to go back to what happened in the Register today. Now, this is also kind of the state of journalism today, where they basically went and got quotes from 10 people and put it in this article. I'm going to read you a couple things it says here. Specifically about Joan Walker. Joan Walker is the head of the Democrats who posted this on the DTC page, on her Democratic page, to rile up her base. We get it. And in the article, they mention how Miss Banish, Tom Banish, her husband, ran for first selectman and won against Joan Walker a couple years back. It leaves out that he had beaten Joe Walker. He was a former first selectman, but leaves out a significant fact that he beat Joan Walker and of the issue between these people. And here's what she said. This is Joan Walker's statement. I think there's a line crossed when the executive director of the Madison Chamber suggests that a person running for elected office places the wares of a chamber member in Madison business on a target to shoot them for target practice. Whatever. It was shooting a bagel. I firmly believe the chamber, along with its director, should support all members in Madison businesses equally without bias. Okay, whatever. That's political correct nonsense, but whatever. And then this quote. I really just want the chamber to work for everyone. Now, if I'm the person sitting in front of Joan Walker as a journalist, likely you at home have a question, the same one I'm about to ask. Nobody asked this in the article. But if you really just wanted the chamber to work for everyone, if that was your goal, why did you post it to the Madison Democratic page? If you really cared about the chamber and then not singling out a business, why did you go to the Madison political page where you're the chairman, post this about someone you have a personal vendetta against? So make no mistake, and I have quite a few emails from Democrats and Republicans from Madison thanking me for yesterday's podcast. Some in the DTC in Madison who said this was nuts. But that is bullying. That's the definition of bullying. You had a personal issue with somebody and you used your authority and social media to get others to jump in with you. You are a bully. If you cared about the chamber, you would have emailed the chamber. Joan Walker is a former first select woman. She knows all the chamber members. She knows the people on the board. Instead, you went to your political cult and said, let me rile them up, who sent nasty and disgusting and demeaning emails to banish the chamber members and posted them all over social media. That is bullying. Bullying isn't something that just happens in school. It's happening in politics. Trump does it with Twitter. All the time he does it with Twitter. And then what happens? He posts something nonsensical to attack somebody and they all jump on. Joan Walker did the same thing. And what's different there is a certain self-righteousness to the left these days. We're smarter, and if you don't agree with us, you're stupid, and you're a loser if you voted for Trump, or if you don't realize how bad he is, you're an idiot. And they come on and do the exact same thing. Joan Walker is a bully. The people who joined in were bullying. And the purpose of that post on the Democratic page was to get people to join her. Make no mistake about that. The other question I have is, why didn't the journalists ask that question? They said that she posted on the DTC page. Make this woman answer, why did you put it on a political page instead of going to a chamber member? Because it's all bullshit. It was all made up. And at the end of the day, to get that reaction, that level of bullying by adults, I don't know how old Joan Walker is, but I know it's not 20. These are adults. Many are very educated who jumped in. I looked at some of their social media and Facebook pages. Very educated people who were publicly bullying someone else over a joke about literally shooting a bagel. And that also is a microcosm of what's happening in our country on both sides. And they complain about each other nonstop. It's happening on both sides. Remember, our audience, the goal of this podcast is that middle. And that middle isn't part of that. That middle's not jumping in. But if you're on social media at all, you're watching the 10% on the left and the 10% on the right attack each other, lie about each other, slander each other, bully each other, and they just jump in. And they're sometimes very educated people, professional, intelligent people. This is the world we live in. This is why my hope, the rest of us, the 80% left, who are logical, can start speaking up. They can have a voice. We don't right now. And so that aspect of it, of the bullying, which has happened nationally, of journalists really not jumping into a story, they're putting 10 quotes in an article and saying press center, instead of saying, wait a minute, why? They never mentioned the personal issues between these people. Never mentioned that Tom Banish defeated Joan Walker a couple years back, which has obviously lingering results. Never mentioned that this person could have gone to the chamber page, could have gone to any chamber member, and instead posted it on the political page. Never said, how does that help the chamber? It doesn't. It was just nonsense. Okay, the final thing I want to talk about are some of these comments. Now, we spoke at length on this podcast on parent reactions to things. And, parents have a right to get answers. They have a right to ask questions. But they also, in times of crisis, have a responsibility to set an example for their kids of not being, for lack of a better word, obnoxious. We saw this recently. There's some social media pages in Brantford where it's like, ask all your questions and get a list and go to these educators with a list of 1,000 questions on nonsense things. And then when they don't drop everything to answer any question you have, oh my God, they don't listen to us. They don't pay attention. It's the end of the world. They're terrible. They work for us. Well, they have a job to do too. So we go to the CIAC, and the CIAC is an organization that manages high school sports. Very few people want high school sports more than the CIAC. So they announced that they were going to get rid of football this year. Parents went crazy, as they were wont to do. There were some rallies in Hartford. The CIAC reconsidered their decision. And we get to today. And the headline on WTNH was breaking the CIAC has reaffirmed their decision to cancel full contact football for 2021. Maybe they'll play it in the fall. Who knows? But if an organization that desperately wants sports, desperately wants football, exists for that purpose, said, okay, we're not going to play, reconsidered and still said we're not going to play, I don't think they're trying to hurt parents. I don't think they're trying to hurt kids. They're trying to make the right decision. They want to have football. The same way the superintendent and the chairman of the Board of Education and teachers want to have normal class, that they'd like to be back there. COVID happened. But it's amazing reading some of these comments. Here's a comment that jumped out at me in the comment section. Great job on ruining many kids' lives. Did you consider their mental health? They can condition together as a team, but they can't play together. I really hope karma takes care of the final decision maker. What does that mean? Great job ruining many kids' lives by not playing football? And this is a common theme in this comment section. We're going to read a few more as well. But I have to ask this. If instead of canceling football, the schools canceled math, we're going to have all the classes. We're going to have English, we're going to have theater, we're going to have research, whatever it is they're going to have, but no math. What would the reaction of it? Would any parent have said anything? No. Parents would, whatever, okay, no math. They'll live. You cancel football, they're ruining kids' lives. That's amazing. Some people stepped in. Why is it professional sports can play, but not these kids? Let these kids play. I hope lawsuits are filed on this one. Lawsuits to play football. This is total baloney. They can play. This is ridiculous. Let's see. The CIAC is worthless. The organization trying to get them to play sports, trying to get kids on the field, decides twice, no, we can't do it because of. It's crazy. Don't do it. Do another rally. You get what you vote for. I don't even know what that means. This is what you get for being in a blue state. What the hell does that have to do with anything? It's amazing. These are parents. I clicked on some of the profile. They're parents of students. We wonder why our kids grow up spoiled. These are parents. These are adults posting on a social media site. You're ruining kids' lives over football. So stupid. Let these kids. Here's one. State is horrible. The state is horrible because your kid can't play football. This is amazing. Time to go independent. What? What does your political affiliation have to do with the CIAC? Absolutely ridiculous. What a shame. Horrible. So many high school kids work so hard with the sport and their grades. They've worked and to further their education and dreams and all that just ripped out from under them. It's awful. It's terrible. Football? Horrible. There's a bunch of swear words here. But it's comical. These are adults. This is becoming a common theme. Adults, educated adults on the DTC, publicly and privately bullying the hell out of somebody who's given a lot to the town of Madison. The CIAC, trying to work for the kids, reconsidered, came back with the same decision after talking to health and state officials. And parents, you're an idiot, you're a loser, you're ruining people's lives, you're terrible, change your political affiliation. It's a combination of anger and ignorance, and it's a bad combination. And social media is made up of a very small number of people who have a very loud, disproportionate voice. And we're seeing it over and over and over again. I don't know what the end of this is, but I wrote this a long time ago, and I need to find this article, that when the end of the American experience starts, when the American empire is written about after its fall, it will start with Mark Zuckerberg. It'll start with social media. Because it just became too easy for anger and crazy and stupid to spread. It used to be you had a conspiracy theory was a fringe. The crazy anger was a small group on the side that didn't really have a voice. Even on the internet, those sites never were found, right? They were little nothing sites. They had no place to really promote themselves. And suddenly, you can have crazy in one comment with a voice be seen by thousands of people and nobody there to filter it. Nobody there to fact check. Nobody there to look and say, wait a minute, this is nuts. And they're your friends. These are Connecticut residents. They're our neighbors posting crazy. We have a war on reason. We have a war on logic. And that's what's happening. My hope is that we can become a voice of reason. I'm really not that hopeful. But it is what it is. All right, so we will be back tomorrow. I thank you for joining me tonight. Again, send an email. We got a lot of emails last night on the podcast and donations as well. I appreciate that. Yesterday people were asking about the Sound or the local weekly paper throwing bags on the driveway. And I get that people complain. I'm no significant fan of the Sound. But media is absolutely dying. It is. There's no question. And, as much as I don't know if they've competed against me, but I've had issues with how they have covered things and journalism in general. And so that being said, there are people there who are doing a good job. There are people there who are working hard. And with the lack of print revenue, lack of ad revenue coming in, I've kind of switched over. I'm obviously only online. I'm doing social media marketing. We're doing a lot more consulting with small businesses. We're taking the experience we have in growing audiences and helping businesses. But not every media company has the ability to do that. I'm just me. I've had up to 3 employees before. Right now during COVID, it's none, but that will grow again. But right now it's me, and I can make that switch. These larger companies can't. So I get that it's a pain in the ass to get this, plastic piece of paper and the paper on your driveway. But they're doing what they have to do to survive. Their days have to be numbered. Print in general has to be numbered. It's just not going to last. People aren't reading it. They're surviving by people who have subscriptions for like the Register, who have had subscriptions for many years. The Sound is free. So it's totally based on revenue, ad revenue. And businesses, for a few reasons. One, advertising in print isn't really that effective anymore. But 2, the businesses that advertise the most, the restaurants, the small businesses, are either closed or suffering significantly. So while I get the sentiment that we don't want this thing thrown in our driveways, I also understand the need for the media company to try to survive. Those are jobs. Those are real people. And so this whole industry is drastically changing. That said, I was glad to be the sponsor of this, although it cost me nothing to be the sponsor. But if you are a business that wants help, and we'd love to sit down and talk to you about what we can do for you, give me a call on that. Some of the comments, football has been singled out. Of course, lives aren't ruined, but these seniors waited for years to play as seniors. Look, we heard this with the high school graduation argument. Everybody lost their mind over graduation. The kids will figure it out. The kids will be fine. They will. We've seen kids go through everything, and they're fine. Their world's not going to end. The parents overreact. On a bright note, UConn women Huskies alum Crystal Dangerfield was named the WNBA Rookie of the Year. Wow, that's nice to see, Mary. I don't know, who does she play for in the WNBA? Here's another one. Hockey is still going to be played, and that's inside. It is truly devastating to many. I don't know what the decision making was. I do know that the organization wanted football. The CIAC wants to play football. So the one thing we can trust is that you had a group of people who were desperate to play football, who came out, met with health officials, met with state officials, made a decision that was likely extremely difficult, said no, got all the protests, said, all right, let's reconsider. People who want to play. The CIAC wants to play. No one at the CIAC is like, well, so grateful we don't have to play football this year. No one is. And they came back and said, listen, we made this decision. The right response is, wow, it's disappointing, but we understand. You're ruining kids' lives is not the right response. It's just not. And this over anger, this exaggeration, this craziness is permeating so many areas as we talk today, whether it's politics and that bullying, or the social media responses we're seeing to this announcement. It's hard, but the overreacting, and by the way, your kids see it. Your kids see it. Are you acting reasonably? Even when stressed, are you logical? They watch this. They see this post. They see the anger in the house. And that plays a role down the road. I will be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock. As always, send in questions or comments. I will consider them, or if I can do research. We do have a few things we're talking about. There's one dance studio that I'm looking into that apparently after COVID has not reopened and didn't return a lot of prepaid annual fees. We are looking into that. We'll talk about that once I have more information. I don't want to do it before I have the full story. There's a few other situations like that post-COVID where the people are not reopening and there's some financial issues. So we're looking into those, and we will talk about those in more detail. Until tomorrow at 4, have a great night. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.